We have got some very good presentations to come between now and the end of proceedings at lunchtime. Just a little bit of housekeeping. When we are finished here, we are going across to the Kilkenny store/restaurant, which is just across the road from the castle. And if you have time, then can we heartily recommend you come back over to Kilkenny Castle. Just use a secret knock to come back in. And by secret knock, I mean just tell the people on the gate outside that you're with NOAC, and they will allow you to come back in and have the self-guided tour where you can hear the story of the 41 ghosts that I mentioned earlier on, because there isn't a better venue for an event here really in Ireland than Kilkenny Castle. And as I said, NOAC are one of the lucky few who get to come in and have events here. So I mentioned a little bit earlier on that the Irish Passport Service ended up as being little bits of rock stars when it comes to customer service. And the only thing about that is, while I give you fierce credit, Una, I will give you fierce credit, there was a period there where the Passport Office was the most complained about in the history of customer service. A lot of it to do with Brexit and volume and you know, bad stories coming out from time to time. But the introduction of technology, the advent of new forms of communication with the public means that now you can actually, there are examples of passports being turned around in 24 hours, which is mind-numbing when you think how it used to change. And you don't even have to go to the chemist anymore to get your picture taken. You can get a lovely picture of your head against a white wall at home. So to talk us through their customer hub, their customer experience, and the journey they've been on from the Irish Passport Office, Una Fannin, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks, everybody. My name is Una Fannin, and I'm the Director of the Irish Passport Service. And I'm really glad to be here with you today. As Jonathan alluded to, we've been on quite a journey from a customer experience point of view. And to be honest, it's been a little bit up and down over the last few years, as I'm sure you all have had similar experiences. So I'm going to give you, first of all, kind of a very brief overview of the Passport Service, our size and the kind of volumes that we deal with and the number of customers that we deal with. And then I'm going to talk about where we've been over the last few years in terms of our customer experience. So we have about 800 staff, and we have our main office is in Balbriggan, North County Dublin, where we have about 450 staff. And that is essentially a passport factory. So it's where we take in all of our mail, register all of our applications, scan all the documents. Our entitlement officers sit there, the majority of them. And then our production machines and mailing machines are also in that location. And everything, it goes in and out from Balbriggan. It's not a public office. We don't even kind of have the address of it on our website, but we have a very large operation there in Balbriggan. Then we have our public office in Mount Street. We've about 150 staff there, and that's where we have our public counter. So we offer an urgent appointment service to people who need to renew their passport at the last minute, and we also have a small office in Cork, where again we have a public counter that serves the south of the country. So in terms of volumes, we've grown kind of exponentially since, as Jonathan mentioned, especially since Brexit. So you'll see in 2017, we were under 800,000 passports. I mean, if you go back to 2012, 2014, we were probably only issuing about 300, 400,000 passports. Our best year pre the C word, and we'll talk about that, was 2019. And that was when everything was really working really, really well for us. We had a fantastic year. We issued over 900,000 passports, and we had brought in our passport online service, and everything was going fantastic. Then COVID hit in early 2020. Our office closed for a certain period. Our staff were disseminated throughout various other departments, and within our own department, they worked on consular assistance for Irish citizens overseas, and they also worked with GSP and the HSE on contact tracing, all of that kind of work. So we took a huge hit staff-wise. We were only really issuing emergency passports at that point. But as we know, everyone was in lockdown, so there wasn't much travel going on. I joined the service at the end of 2021, and we were still in a pretty rocky place. We we had reopened, we had been designated as a frontline service in April of 2021. So we were starting to reissue passports, but we had a massive backlog. And also everybody was gearing up to start traveling again in 2022. So we had a huge year in 2022. It was the first time ever that we've issued more than 1 million passports. And looking forward into our forecast, we are going to be issuing well over 900,000 to over 1 million passports every year from now on. So for a country of 5.5 million people, that is pretty extraordinary. I would say as as citizens who live on a very rainy island off the west coast of Europe, Irish people are very attached to their passports and their holidays. So we certainly feel that. This year, we are, as of today, at 913,000 passports issued so far. And I'll be keeping a very close eye on the numbers over the next few weeks. So we'll be hitting 1 million probably by end of November, I would say. So last year, we gained a lot of kind of kudos, I guess, for our recovery, and we won a number of customer service experience awards. We were ranked 18th out of 150 public-facing organisations. We were the top service brand in the public sector, and we also were the biggest mover. We went from 86th place to 18th place. Our hub, which is our customer service phone line and web chat service, was shortlisted for the Best Customer Service Award. And also our reform team, which is leading our modernisation programme, was shortlisted for an Impact Award for online enhancements. And I'll speak about that a little bit later. These awards we've been shortlisted again this year for these awards, so we're looking forward to the results, which will be coming out in November. But to take a little step back, we're back now in the early summer and spring of 2022, and you can just see the kind of the level of public and media pressure that we are under at this point. So I always rate it in terms of the volume of parliamentary questions that we get. And in June 2022, on one particular Friday, we had 300 questions in one day. In 2022, we answered over 2,000 parliamentary questions. This year, we've answered 300 so far. So to get 300 one day was pretty extraordinary. But this, April, May, June 2022, this is when everyone was like really wanted to go on their holidays. So I suppose I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about how we kind of went from this just 2.5 years ago to where we are now. So we are getting a huge amount of, kudos on social media. I see Anton Savage is there, one of Jonathan's colleagues from News Talk. My favourite one is the top tweet that says, my passport application, or passport online is so fast, I got my passport before I finished filling out the form. But every day I hear about customers who applied at 10 o'clock yesterday and their passport was in the post the following day. That said, that service is not available to every single customer, and I sometimes think we're the victim of our own success because people do have an expectation that they will get their passport in a couple of days. But I'll talk you through the various types of customers and turnaround times that we have. So I'll talk you through how we turned around the service, and I think we can break it down into 3 ways. So first of all, we increased our resources and we improved our service delivery. Secondly, we simplified the customer journey, and that is something that we are looking at constantly. And thirdly, we changed customer behaviour and increased engagement with our customers. So in terms of increasing our resources, we have a fantastic suite of workforce planning and tools and data analytics. And we have a fantastic data analytics team, but we also work with an outside vendor that works with us on workforce planning, forecasting, and looking at our data. So forecasting is a huge, huge part of our business because it's really important for us to know and to be able to plan 5 to 10 years in advance how much staff we're going to need to deal with the volume of applications that we'll be getting. We were fortunate in that we were in a position within the department to increase our staffing levels by 30%. But that said, our staff had been decimated throughout COVID, so we were building back up to where we were, but there was also a recognition at senior level that we needed to augment that core staffing level. So we were given sanction to take in a high number of temporary staff. But that said, we also increased our ratio of permanent to temporary staff. And the really important piece about that is to build the resilience and the stability into our workforce. So we had a system of taking on temporary clerical officers in the summertime to help us with their high level of demand, and then letting them go when things got quiet in the autumn, and we'd have to start all over again the following year. So we now have a system whereby we give our temporary clerical officers a much longer contract, an 11-month contract, and we have been very fortunate to be able to run TCO to CO competitions within the department. So we've ran one last year and we will run another one next year. And that allows anyone who's been with us on a temporary basis for 3 months to undergo an internal clerical officer competition and stay with us if they're successful. That has been huge and game-changing really in terms of maintaining that stability and resilience of the workforce. We've also improved our staff induction training, and just looking at ways to engage with our staff to increase morale and retention. And we do use overtime, so we look at our numbers every week, and if we're not at our target staffing levels, and throughout this year we've carried a 5% vacancy rate, so we have had to use overtime at the weekends, particularly in the first half of the year, which is our busiest period. But all of this, as I said, has led to a much more stabilised workforce and increased resilience within that workforce. So this is just a snapshot of some of our data analytics, and I don't know if you'll be able to see the detail on the graph there, but you'll see how our call volume, these are call volumes into our customer service hub. So how a call volume obviously spikes in April, May, June and July, and in that time, 60 to 70% of our customers will call us about their passport application. We might get 100,000 passport applications in May. So that means in May, 70,000 people are going to call our customer service line. So it's all, like a lot of our work is around being prepared for that, making sure we have enough staff in the hub to deal with that. We have a service delivery goal of answering 80% of calls within 5 minutes and 100% of calls within 10 minutes. And we are successful in meeting that throughout the year as much as possible. But we are dealing with a very high volume number of calls, so, and we also offer a web chat service as well. This is a dashboard that is live. This particular one isn't live. This is a screenshot of one from the other day. But this shows me and the rest of the leadership team, as well as our Deputy Secretary General, who is our CFO. He looks at this about 7 times a day. Where we are in terms of who's logged on, what our call volume is. So if you go down to the third line there, you can see the current wait time is 0, and the longest wait time today that has been 3 minutes and 43 seconds. So this has been a fantastic tool to really just track live how our hub is doing. This is just a quick snapshot of some of the types of events that we do with our staff. So this was a really successful event. We have a very diverse staffing population, and so we encouraged all our staff from various countries to bring in foods from their country, and we had a really great day of kind of celebrating the cultural diversity of our staff in our 3 offices. So I'll go on to our second point, which is expanding and improving our services. So as I mentioned, we have 2 public offices, and since COVID we have brought in an urgent appointment service, and this is for renewals only. But we do offer a same-day turnaround for a passport in Dublin and a 4-day turnaround in Dublin and in Cork. It's quite expensive, but we are almost fully booked throughout the summer. So it'll be €245 for an adult and €195 for a child. But we regularly have people coming straight from the airport into us with their suitcases when they realise that their passport is out of date. And we also work to have more appointments available during that peak season. Our passport processing times, these are our target times. So you'll know from the many positive stories that we are under, well under 10 days for the adult renewal. We're usually at about 2 or 3 days for about 50% of those adult renewals. But that said, it does take longer for a complex renewal, which is if you're changing your name or something of that nature. Also a child renewal and a first time application will take much, much longer, 20 working days. And that is because we are essentially verifying your citizenship. So we have to ensure that we have all the documents that are required to ensure that you are a citizen, and also verifying your identity. And in the case of a child, verifying the consent of parents and guardians to the issue of a passport. You might remember the green forms that you would put into the post with the post office. We do still offer that service. It's called Post Passport, and that takes 8 weeks or 40 working days. And I'll show you a little bit later kind of what the volumes on that channel look like. This is our application tracking tool, so you can put in your passport application number and track where it is in our system, and you will get a target issue by date there. So this is useful for our customers, but I think they still like to call and make sure that this is correct. And that is the second page of the tracker, which kind of shows people where their passport would be at any particular time. I would say it's really important for people to understand that once you make your passport application online, if there are documents required, the target turnaround time does not start, or the clock doesn't start ticking until you send those documents in to us. So many people don't, they say, oh, I applied for it 2 months ago, but they may not have even sent us in their documents yet, so we can't work on it until the documents come in. So just in terms of simplifying the customer journey, this is our post-passport application. And as you can see, there are 9 steps to this, including going to the guard station, going to the post office, going to the pharmacy, getting your passport photo taken, and a huge number of steps for the customer and for us as a service. There are a lot more of our staff work on paper applications, even though there are a very small number of our actual application volume. So since we introduced Passport Online in 2017, the number of steps has been reduced to 6. So again, this is it's a much easier customer journey for our customers. You can do everything at home. You can take your passport photo at home. You can do everything you actually can do everything on your phone. And we have estimated that it should take about, for an adult renewal, it should take about 6 or 7 minutes to make your passport application online. So it is a much easier and smoother journey for the customer and much more efficient for us on our side. We expanded Passport Online in 2023 to all but 3 countries in the world. So only Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, 4 countries. Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, and Ukraine, people are not available, or first-time applicants cannot apply online in those countries. But they are countries where very small populations of Irish citizens, and it's just really about security reasons for those countries. So in 2023, you can see there that 91% of our customers applied online. About 6% applied through the post office. And then we had almost 2% at the counter, so there are urgent appointments, and 1.5% from the Northern Irish Postal Service. So we've also worked to simplify the customer journey with a partnership with DSP and the General Register Office, and this allows us to access birth certificates for children born in Ireland. So once a child's application is made online with us and the parent supplies us with their PPSN, the child's PPSN, we can retrieve that birth certificate directly from the GRO, and it cuts down on the volume of paper that we need to receive at the passport service. It also cuts down on data breaches and data handling, and it also means that it's less work for the parent to have to supply us with that birth certificate. So in the past year, we've retrieved 100,000 birth certificates from the GRO through this API that we have with them. We've also done a lot of work on our website and upgrading the information that we give our customers. So when you apply online, we've done an enormous amount of work to offer a bespoke cover page to the applicant. So when you come to the end of your application, you'll get a page that lists the documents that you need to send to us to ensure that your application will be correct and complete and will be able to proceed without any issue. And that can be a range of documents. So if you're a newly naturalized citizen, for instance, there are types of documents that we need to see from your home country, identity documents, we need to see your naturalization cert, for instance. But if it's a child born in Ireland, just a renewal application, all we need to see is a consent form from the guardians. So there is a huge range of documents that are required, and we really work hard to ensure that the customer has exactly what they need to send in on their customized cover page. I'm nearly finished. So this is our just changing our customer behavior and engaging with the public. So this was our campaign, our public media campaign that we launched last year, and we run this campaign starting in December and January. So we really want people to start thinking about their passport when they're booking their holiday, not when they're going on their holiday. So this was a really successful campaign. It's shots of various types of customer in the airport having realised that their passport is out of date or they haven't brought their passport with them. And this has been really successful, again, in going back to our data analytics. We have managed to shift demand from April, May, June, July to January, February, March, April. And that has been really game-changing for us in terms of the volume of calls that we're going to get in, the volume of political and media pressure that we'll have in the summertime. It gives our customers a lot more reassurance that they have their passport well in time for their trip. But also, with 800 staff, most of our staff have families. They like to take shorter working year. They like to go on their own holidays. So we have, vacancy issues throughout the summer, and it really helps us to shift that demand into the first quarter of the year. And the media campaign has been really, really successful in doing that. So just one last thing, this is another example of our public engagement. So you may or may not have heard that we are changing the passport book, and new books will be available in or around first half of 2026. It's a very long process to redesign the book, but it is important to redesign it every 10 years for international civil aviation reasons. We upgrade the security features, and we look at all aspects of the book and make sure it's a really high level document in terms of the integrity and security of the book itself. So we went out to the public, asked them to participate in a survey with Red Sea to nominate their favourite flora and fauna, Irish natural flora and fauna that they would like to see on the new book. So Red Sea told us that we might get a few hundred responses. We actually got over 15,000 responses from all over the world. And we just got really, really good engagement on it. So you'll see there, the Taoiseach had a fantastic press day with a wolfhound. So the native animal that was most preferred by people who filled in the survey was the Irish wolfhound. So the Irish wolfhound is now being worked on. You'll see in the middle there, that's our artist's rendering of that is being worked on to be incorporated into the new passport. But this has really given our citizens a sense of ownership of the new passport, and we know from colleagues in other passport services that changes to the passport can often be quite controversial, but we really wanted to kind of come at this very early on to make sure that we had a sense of buy-in and ownership from the public for the new passport. So people are now already saying, well, should I hold off and not get it until the new passport comes out? But we have to be careful to say, look, it'll be at least another year and a half before the new passport comes out. So we do want people to renew in plenty of time. So this is what the new passport is going to look like. I'm joking, it's not. The passport will be the exact same on the front with the harp, but the shamrock, which came out as the top flora, and the wolfhound, which came up as the top fauna, will be incorporated into the pages of the book. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Una, thank you very much. As the late, great Bruce Forsyth would have said, didn't they do well? And I have to I'll give you a very cheap and easy laugh. That advertising campaign worked on me because we're going away the week after next, and I literally had to go up and I went through everyone's passport. How long have we got left in them? Is there going to be enough? Am I going to be the Egypt left at the airport? So it definitely works, and it just goes to show you that the customer journey, complicated and steady up. I didn't invite you up yet. Jesus, he's in like Flynn.
Absolutely.
You've been well trained, Michael. I'll give you that. The point is that it can be done. Now, it's easier to do it when you've only one thing, which is the passport in this case. You guys have lots of different things, but there's definitely learnings there which Una can go through. Now, our next speaker is incredibly eager to talk to you about the quality assessment mark on customers. It is one of the biggest local authorities by population in the country, if not the biggest. Will you please welcome from Dublin City Council, Mr. Martin Daly, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My boss decided that instead of having death by PowerPoint, I was to actually talk it through everything instead. So there's only going to be a few slides, but I'm involved in customer services in Dublin City Council since 2007. 2008, as we all know, we had a few slight problems in the country with the banks needing to be bailed out and an awful lot of changes. 2 budgets by April 2009, Croke Park agreement imminent, etc. So we had to look at what we were doing, how we were doing it, and how we could keep doing it and improving it. Better value for money, probably less resources when Croke Park was sorted out. We also needed to be aware that we are the voice of the customer from the organisation's point of view. We're the front line. We're the one that the customer sees and the customer hears. So we had to ensure we sort of kept everything we did in mind. Along with the obvious problems, we also knew we were going to have a moratorium on staff, probably pay cuts, increased working hours, reduced holidays, no staff movement, no promotions, no ability to move from one part of the organisation to another, most likely. It was a very challenging environment and very demotivating for everybody involved. So this was the challenge we faced. How do we keep going? How do we improve? How do we get people on board to do all of this? What benefits can we provide, etc. So what we actually did was we wanted to look at the areas that would ensure we could provide a quality customer journey and a customer experience. And we considered if we made improvements, what would be the benefits that we could actually derive from them. So we looked at, by providing a better customer experience and results, we can reduce the levels of disappointment with the service provision from the customers. This automatically reduces the number of complaints we have to deal with, which is a big factor, I think. It improves the team job satisfaction because they're not trying to deal with irate customers and also with dealing with the complaints about staff, etc. And therefore also reduces absenteeism rates, which is a very big thing to keep an eye on. Customers have their objectives met easier and quicker, and therefore it reduces the resource requirement for the organisation, allowing time to do other things or to get involved in other projects. I'm a firm believer that one of the benefits we can provide our staff is time to get involved in projects that allow them to have something to talk about when it comes to the like of interviews or any other roles coming up, that this is the benefit we can actually provide for them, and we make a point of making sure everybody gets that opportunity. We wanted to look at the QMark process itself. It's helped us to look at areas like mystery shopping, which seems a bit strange maybe for local authorities to do, but mystery shopper is not going in and pricing what price the bread is in this supermarket and that supermarket. It's actually going out and getting a customer idea of how they like to deal with individual areas, individual businesses, individual sections. It also helped us along with the likes of document control, which is obviously critical, especially with the GDPR implications, etc. We've also started on the likes of internal audits. Our own team do on our own performance, our own processes, even on a weekly basis to ensure that we're keeping up the standards, etc. And it helped us focus on gap analysis in things like training, FAQs, etc., that we could actually improve what we do and how we did it. And also that means training plans are automatically improved. So we're actually training people for what they need to be trained for when we know what the gaps are that we're in our service. Success with the program was fairly evident. In 2009, we did our first one. We got 73% of a score that year. This is in the first level. That happened to be the highest ever score for a first-time applicant. And in that year as well, we won the award for the first-time applicant, but we also won a main award, which had never happened in the 40-year history of the QMark. So it gave us a good benchmark and said, we're starting from a reasonable basis. Let's see how we can improve. Our target obviously is to improve every year and improve what we do and our score and understand better what we're doing and the impacts of those decisions. In the last 3 years, we're now at the highest level, the level 3. We've also got consecutively the 3 highest scores we've ever achieved, which in the last 3 years have been 90%, 91% and 92%. Quite hard to beat that now, I have to say, because if you move resources into getting something better, you're probably taking them away from somewhere else, but we have to keep trying. That's, that's really important. Most importantly, what the QMark has given us is a methodology and a style of doing business. So if I want a process document done and I get one of the team to do it, they automatically know how this works. The process document is a specific document. It has to be completed properly. It has to be updated. It has to be dated with the current date, the version number. We have to move old documents into an old folder to understand what we did and see the changes. I don't need to talk to anybody about that anymore. It just automatically happens. So we're getting very, very good at all that sort of thing. And finally, the QMark provides us with recommendations and gives us benchmarks on best practice, not just from public sector, but we compete against the private sector as well. Because ultimately, as we all know, different services can be sent out to the private sector, but at the same time, there is no reason for us not to try and be the best in class at everything we do all of the time, irrespective of whether it's public or private. So, it worked. So, we've kind of gone through the challenge area, why we did it, what we looked at, etc. So the journey was really the next thing. Now this was a difficult journey, I suppose, at the start, because there was an awful lot of areas we had to consider and an awful lot of work to put in the first place. But it was only a one-off, if you like, on this level of assessment. We had to review all of our mission statements and our journey since the inception of customer services in Dublin City Council in 2004, and compare our performance against our strategic objectives for the organisation. We had to consider the processes we had in place, our knowledge management, our IT systems, and how all of these either helped or hindered our service offering for our customers. We considered our own team and what we needed to do to ensure a secure and safe working environment for them. We looked at the data we held and how secure it was and whether it was necessary to have this at all, or was it just one of the old we've always done it that way, so we'll keep doing it that way. We actually produced a rationale for what we do on absolutely everything. We reviewed financial management processes because we wanted clearer transparency and accountability for everything we did and everything we spent. We looked at staff engagement, how we engaged with our own staff, how frequently, what it was about, and we wanted to ensure that our own team had the opportunity to express any concerns or issues they may have, and also to provide us with any suggestions they may have. I think previously I would have seen a lot of people in different businesses that I've worked in, sort of where the bosses decide they know best. I actually think in this case, the people that are actually dealing directly with the customers on the one-to-one have to be considered and have to be listened to, as they're the ones at the coalface and understand exactly what's happening all of the time. So we really need to make sure that we get their knowledge. We looked at recruitment, training and communication methods. We considered our customer engagement and the customer experience and ways to improve. And one of the things we now have is a customer experience coordinator that sits in with customer services. So everything that relates to the customer and what we do in the building, where customers come in, through emails, through phone calls, etc., even dealing with other sections in the organisation, the customer experience coordinator has a look at it before we actually agree on anything. So the solution, as we said, was the QMark. That's the one we chose. We did it because we felt that as the biggest local authority in Ireland, our functions were fairly varied. Depending on who you talk to, we're looking at sort of 900, 1,000, 1,200 services, whatever. You know, the number varies from time to time. We decided it was prudent to get an external assessment of our performance to provide us with the best practice in our specific area and provide recommendations for improvements. We did look at other alternatives like ISO, etc., but we wanted something that was recognizable. And the Q mark symbol, the Q itself, was something that people did recognize and had been around for a while. There are 5 areas in the Q mark. It was important for us to be able to look at these areas and see where the improvements could come from. These include leadership and commitment, excellent business systems, employee engagement, customer experience, and results. So we started the process of analysing all of these and identifying what we were doing under each heading, which will become the basis of our assessment going forward. So we've had success, as I've said, and one of the things we've definitely sort of embraced is the idea of the quote from Seth Godin, which said, "People are not afraid of failure, they're afraid of blame." So I give people opportunities, we give people opportunities to do things. We don't blame them. Every failure is the next step towards success, right? So we don't have failures, we have learning experiences. That's training, that's all it is, you know, and if we approach it like that, we'll be fine. But most importantly, the customers had to get benefits from this. And some recent changes we've seen, 2023, 2024, we have introduced new things at reception desks, for example, a log, because we found an awful lot of our customers, for example, where English wasn't their first language. So we had to find a way to sort that out. So what we have now is we have a pilot project of an app. So somebody comes in and we can get a translator normally within 2 minutes, which gives exact information. This reduces the amount of time spent by the organization to process what the customer needs. It also helps the customer to ensure that what they're actually looking for is properly requested. Very often we found children actually doing the translation, and that was not an ideal situation under any circumstances. So we were able to record all of the stuff on the data log to understand why customers were calling to the office. We also introduced meeting pods, as we had seen them around in a few other local authorities, which have privacy at heart, but also touchscreen technology. But you can plug in laptops, you can go online, you can do certain things automatically. The customer can do it themselves. For example, we mentioned the register of electors earlier, that they can come in and actually register themselves on that themselves. So I suppose from our point of view and our KPIs, the key results that we've seen we have 28 separate phone lines coming into us for 28 separate sort of areas of business. In 2023, we had 155,000 customers ring us. They were answered in an average of 3 minutes and 6 seconds, and that's not too bad considering the fact that if I ring Air to get something done, I'm going to be waiting an hour, or on Post or anybody else as a rule. Although I have to say I did ring on Post recently, they were much better. But in 2024, Q1 to Q3 inclusive, our average answer delay actually reduced to 2 minutes and 40 seconds. So that's a decrease of 14% in time, but we also had an increase in calls in that time. So it's kind of a 3% increase in calls, a 14% reduction in time. So by looking at all these things, we can help. We also had 48.87% of those calls were answered in less than 30 seconds. So that's kind of our key KPI on the calls. We also obviously, as most people will know, customer services, a first call resolution rate is very important. In 2023, ours was 46.43%. So again, from everything we've learned from QMark and going back and doing the training, in Q1 in 2024, in Q1 to Q3 2024, it's now 67.99%. A massive increase in first call resolution rate. That means that 2 out of every 3 customers don't need to talk to anybody else. It's a huge saving for the organization as well, and much better for the customer. And it just goes with our corporate plan to continue to focus on providing quality customer service to deliver the best service possible to citizens and customers. We have just a couple of benefits customers have actually taken the time to get back to us. One was remarkable and unusually excellent service in the modern world, very kind and patient, very helpful and had a great experience talking to you, super helpful and polite. I want to thank you for great customer service. And the one that I particularly like actually came from the Department of Taoiseach. There is a perception that many arms of the government pay only lip service to the first national language, and it brings me great joy to know that this is not true, at least with regard to Dublin City Council. Thank you.
The clock is against us, fortunately enough. Right, such an improvement, because I remember years ago when I was a reporter working in Dublin, going into the front desk on the keys, and there was nobody there. There was literally nobody there. And there was a handwritten book that you could write into saying, I have visited you, please contact me, which presumably then would be put into the pile at the back and never seen again. So good to see progress is being made. Now to their arch rivals across the border in Meath. Meath County Council are obviously doing it better than the people in Dublin, but to find out how they're using CRM to support local representatives, Elaine Daly, ladies and gentlemen. Elaine.
Hello everybody, my name is Elaine Daly and I'm the Senior Executive Officer in the Corporate Affairs and Governance section in Meath County Council. Just before you hit that stopwatch, Jonathan, I just want to say thanks to NOAC for allowing me the opportunity to present here today, and I suppose to showcase some of the good work that we're doing in Meath County Council. I suppose as the last speaker, local authorities do a lot of things very, very well. And one of them is networking, and we network and we support one another, and I suppose days like this are so important to showcase what we do. And I know we're thinking of introducing a CRM portal, and I'll be on to Farga in Roscommon. So again, thanks to NOAC for giving us that opportunity. Now you can hit the stopwatch. Okay, so I'm here to talk to you today about how we use our CRM system to support our local representatives. So I'm supposed to give you just a bit of a background on it. Hit the button, Elaine. Just a bit of a background. We introduced Sugar, is the name of our CRM system, back in 2014, and we were working with other local authorities to streamline it to local authority, to what we do in local authority. I suppose over the last 3 years we've kind of possibly done a bit of a solo run on it, and we're working with Provident as the company that we work on to develop it specifically for what we do in Meath County Council and to streamline and our systems and our processes in the back house. Just the background, the guiding principles behind it. Obviously the Moorhead report was produced in June 2020, and there was a specific recommendation in that report that each local authority should introduce a CRM system to support the elected members in their administrative function. It's also one of our objectives in our corporate plan, and that's to support our stakeholders and build on partnerships, which includes our elected members. That has been further reiterated in our new corporate plan, where we have a specific strategic objective, and that's to support the democratic mandate of the elected members, and I think that's very important. Our customer service action plan obviously have guided our timelines and how we introduced the system. So just to give you a bit of a background of Meath, we have 40 elected members and 6 Oireachtas members, and that's important because we decided very early on that we would roll this out not only to our own councillors but to our Oireachtas members. I think that was a big decision to make at that time. We receive approximately 6,300 reps per year from all of those, and our focus, I suppose, was on the awareness of needs, and that is, I suppose, the needs of the user, which was the elected members and the Oireachtas members, and our needs and how we can deliver that. We also wanted to ensure we had accurate, consistent and timely responses to the elected members, which is very important. So that picture there is just kind of the login that our elected members see when they go to log into the portal. And the objective was to implement an organisation-wide CRM system that supports consistent recording, assignment, tracking, response management and reporting of member requests, ensuring enhanced service delivery for our local representatives. So mouthful there, but a lot in it, and I suppose the key there is tracking, analysis and reporting, and I think that was key to our success. So how did we implement it? I suppose about this time 2 years ago we kind of sat down as a group and we decided this was something we wanted to work on. So with our IT department, our customer services department, we developed a kind of very basic CRM package for the elected members. And then we went on to establish the working group, and that was important because we weren't coming with a blank page to the elected members. We had something to present to them. And out of that working group then, there were there were a lot of changes, and I'll talk about them as we go through the presentation. So we set up the working group, which was our elected members and relevant officials, and it sounds very simple, sure, we'll just set up a working group, but then you have to take in political parties, you have to take in our 6 MDs, we have 6 municipal districts, we wanted a good cross mix, and we had our 6 MDs. What else did we have to think about? Oh, technical ability. How could they, do you know, how tech savvy were they? Some were good, some were bad. And again, we wanted a broad mix. And then we wanted people who would support us as well. We didn't want any of the naysayers, if we could, for this element of it. So we arranged the workshops. We developed the system based on their requirements, and again, some changes which I'll talk about. And then we tested the system. So we tested it internally with our own customer services team. Our working group tested it initially before we rolled it out. Once we were happy there were no glitches, and that was important, we were happy the system worked, then we were ready to demo it. And we have a protocol committee in Meath County Council, so we demoed it to them first, and that was again to build momentum, to get buy-in from the members, and we did that, and then we were happy to present it to the full council. Once we were happy, everything was going, we were going down this road, then we developed an intensive training programme. And that was where we had, again, this was for the mix of abilities that we had. We had one-to-one training, a bit of hand-holding for the people who maybe weren't as tech-savvy. We had how-to videos and manuals for the people who were maybe more savvy and didn't need that kind of hand-holding. So we developed all of that. We also created a direct support email, which went directly into our IT department. If they had a problem with passwords logging in, they had a direct email they could contact and get the resolution they needed. So we rolled out phase 1 over a year ago now, since September 2023. I don't know if you can see that. There's no GDPR, that's our test system, so we're all right. And that's, I suppose, when the members go in and they see View My Reps, that's what they see. And each of the boxes above, as you can see, they're all search functions. So they can search by case number, they can search by the date, they can search by the constituent, the subject. The department is a filter, so they can filter it by department. And just over to the side, which you can't see, is also open and closed cases. So if they only want to see their open cases, they can filter it by that. But if they want to see everything, maybe they've submitted for potholes, they can submit in a pothole and all their cases will come in. So there's a search function for the members there. Just on the right-hand side, this is where the workshops came in handy and where this is all developed as a direct result of the workshops. And the first one there is you can see on the drop-down menu there, is the application form. So every application form that we have in the council is in there. So at any point, if they're with a constituent looking for an application form, some of them are online, some of them aren't, they can download them, print them, and hand them out straight away. The other one, which is interesting, is the Housing Estates Register. So we keep a register of all the housing estates that are taken in charge, and that's populated and updated all the time by our planning department, and our customer services team use it all the time. So it was very simple just to roll that out and throw it out to the portal, and the members have access to it. So if someone comes in with a pothole in state, not taken in charge, they can see that straight away, and it's dead at first point of contact. The other one is the knowledge base. Again, this is something that each section populates for customer services, and it keeps all the information about the services we provide up to date. There's FAQs in there as well, and so again, that's all there anyway, and we just push that out so the members have full access to that as well. And you'll just see the little notifications tab up there with 17 notifications. That's how the members can email directly with the service provider in the back office. So, sorry, I have a bit of a cold. So that's how they can. Liaise. So there's little notifications. If the case is updated, it'll come with that. Thanks a million.
No problem. Can't have a keeling over.
That won't happen. Yeah, so if a case is updated, that notification pops up there. If there's messaging to and from, they all pop up there in that notification as well. Okay. So I suppose just to summarise the benefits of it, for the elected members themselves, there's an improved overall service, including faster response time. If they submit something manual or even by an email, that has to go to our customer service department to be uploaded to the portal before it goes to the back office. So all of that takes longer. than them just inputting the information to the portal themselves. It's very user-friendly. It is accessible by on a mobile or on a tablet. So at any point, if they're stopped on the street, they can access it and they can say to the constituent, oh yeah, I logged that, there it is. The members have it right in front of them. And I suppose it's a management of reps in one place for them, so they can see what they've logged, when they've logged it, all of that. And it avoids any duplication. We had some councillors who couldn't remember maybe what they submitted, and they'd submit 5 or 6 things for the same thing, so it avoids all that. The reopen the cases, that was a controversial one. The elected members, this is their representation to us, and they have ownership of that. And if they're not happy with the response, they can reopen the case. Now, it's for clarification. It's not for they don't like the answer, because sometimes that is the case. But it is if there's further clarification needed or something, or they're not happy with the response for any other reason other than they just don't like it, they can reopen the cases. We struggled with that one a wee bit. As I said, through the notifications, they also get to liaise directly with the staff member through that portal, and that reduces some of our phone calls. It's a centralised information hub, so they have access to the knowledge base, which I discussed, the Housing Estate Register, and the notice board. I didn't see it it's not on the slides, but there's actually a ribbon notice board when they log in that goes round. So we input key dates like that. If it's time to submit ethics declarations, it's have you submitted your ethics declaration, deadline by, Pride of Place awards are on such and such a date. So that information is there for them, just key little notes for them when they log in. And I suppose, like I said, it empowers the local representative to respond to queries at first point of contact, and that's through the Housing Estate Register, the knowledge base, all of that. So the benefits to us, I suppose, it's delivering one of our key objectives in our corporate plan, and that is enhance the service to our local elected representatives. It's a centralised information hub, and I'll talk more about that and how we use the information that we are getting from them in relation to that. There's greater accountability for our staff. There's greater accountability for our staff. They can't hide behind it now. It's all there in black and white for everybody to see. Standardise our processes, so the timelines, everything is the same as transport, housing, across the board, no difference. We have an escalation process, so if a case is assigned to a staff officer, it's not responded, goes to the admin till eventually up to the SEO. We haven't escalated it to directors yet, but we'll see. So far, so good. And again, real-time reporting. At any point, I can say how many outstanding elected reps we have. And again, in transport, at any time, the SEO there can say, well, we've X amount outstanding. 60% usage, and I know you're thinking, God, she's up there, but 60%. But actually, that's 60% of our members use it. We are an age-friendly county, and we do support our members, and some of them, to write that they only maybe submit 2 or 3 a year, and that handwritten letter means so much to them, and we're not going to take from that. And now, in the end, it ends up in the portal anyway, but yeah, but it's important for members that we can support them that way. 80% of our Oireachtas members use it, and that's probably, they've really raved about it. So it's worked really well with them. And again, improved monitoring through the dashboards, and that's, like I said, where we have real-time monitoring, where we can see what's outstanding. I don't know if you can see that for any of my corporate colleagues who know the pain of the local representation allowance and all the paperwork that's involved in that. We use this CRM system to control all of that. That is real-time data, but it's public information, so I'm happy enough. And that just sets out, if any of you don't know what the local representation allowance is, the members can receive up to €4,200 per annum in vouched expenditure and €960 unvouched. And it's an administrative nightmare, but we've simplified it through the use of the Sugar CRM system. And then that's just other dashboards and reporting that we have for the members of our political parties, their annual allowance, how much has been spent on conferences, training, outside databases, all of that. And overall meeting attendance on the right, and that's very important for any of you who know elected members, and the 80% rule and payment of their expenses. So again, that's all very important. So our challenges and our next steps, I suppose, firstly, to manage the local representatives' expectations. They do like to get information there and then, and sometimes it's about saying, no, there's a bit of work to be done in the background and you just have to bide your time a bit. But with the timelines for response, at least again, you're managing it through the timelines. Training in IT abilities, and we do work with our members on that, and we'll provide one-to-one if it's needed. We would really like 100% usage, and I suppose where this is really shown is we have 7 new members since the June elections, and they all use it, and they all no complaints about it. So I think as we progress, it will go through. And again, funding, we're working with Provident, so there is a cost involved. So what we want to do next, that LRA receipts module that I showed you, we want to be able to push that out to the portal. So we want the members to be able to upload their own receipts and submit their own claims without us having to do it manually. And we want them to be able to see what balance they have throughout the year. We want to be able to book conferences online through the portal. That's something we're working on. And a discretionary fund. Our elected members have €15,000 each that they can distribute to community groups. And we want to be able to make those submissions and applications through the portal. So that's phase 2, and we're working on that. We'll be very close to that, maybe early next year. Phase 3 then is attendance and vote records. So again, this is where the 80% rule will kick in, and we want them to see their own attendance, and we will keep a record of all the voting that takes place. Even though it is in the minutes, it will be on Sugar as well. And we want to use it where they can submit notices of motion and notices of questions, and then we'll be able to use that to filter around to the departments and to come back, and it'll just streamline that whole process, and they'll have a record of their own motions and questions. What I will say in relation to the LRA and the information that we have, we can see where they're spending. There's a reporting tool there, so we can see where the spend is, and we're using that information now to develop our own in-house training programme for the elected members, because we can see they're spending a lot of money on social media, things like that, and we're going to develop now our own in-house training maybe to help them and support them in that. So Sinead, go on, Margaret. You can.
Elaine Goramila Mahaga, thank you very much indeed. I'm fascinated that councillors might actually lose track of some of the things they might ask the officials to do. Knock me down with a feather, I said. So Elaine is going to join us on the panel. We'll also invite Martin to rejoin us on the panel, and Una as well. So another round of applause, please, from our panellists. And Margaret Lane of NOAC is joining us as well. Thank you very much, folks. Feel free to take a pew, and we'll go through it. Margaret, I suppose, first of all, we have 3 brilliant examples of technology being used well and to the benefit of, well, the end consumer, which is as the person who needs to find out answers from public bodies.
Exactly, and I think what struck me was the value of data, and each one of them used data to continuously improve their functions and their service to customers. And I suppose I'm aware from my own interaction with local authorities, significant amount of data they hold. And I think as Martin said, that local authorities offer between 900 to 1,200 different types of services. And I think there is a huge, database there, and it's to utilise that. And what struck me with Martin's presentation was the continuous improvement. You can never stop, and I know you refer to the future, and you refer to the future. And I think that's a big takeaway from here is data and continuous.
The funny thing about it is if you were commercial organisations, which obviously you're not, that data would be mined and every bit of juice would be wrung out of it. Yeah.
And like you can see it with the likes of the big supermarkets and what they're doing and all that. And I suppose it's really to get an understanding of
SuperValu nearly does a welfare check on me if I don't go in every second day.
and I suppose the customer service data with the local authority's own internal data, it's an incredible source of data. And obviously there's data that's probably not as significant, but it's to understand the really important data, how to utilise it and to invest in utilising it.
Una, if I can go to you, many times a situation would feel overwhelming. And we've all been that soldier. We've all sat at the bottom of the hill looking up going, Jesus, I'll never get to the top of it. Yet ye did. And this is why I find the journey so fascinating for the Passport Office. And not only did you do it, you did it in a very short period of time. So what was the biggest learning that you took from that journey?
But to me, I think it's investing in our staff, and we couldn't do it without our staff, and bringing in the additional resources, recognising that, and making a case to the leadership. We're obviously part of the Department of Foreign Affairs, making a case to our senior leadership. How important it was. Now it wasn't. It was a very persuasive case given the level of PQs and reps we were receiving.
Because that was still going to keep coming. You were still going to get every councillor and every TD in the country saying Johnny Murphy didn't get his passport, you dirty shower.
Yeah. But so bringing in, like, recognising that, look, we just have to staff up here. Like, we're not going to work our way out of this with the level of staffing and resourcing that we have. But then when we did get our staffing in, to ensure that they were trained properly, and actually, Martin, I'm going to be calling you because I think the work that you've done in terms of customer service and how your staff deliver that is really excellent. I think we can learn a lot from that. But also, making sure that a big priority for me is our staff engagement, making sure they understand what their role is. And I have to say, I sit on a lot of interview panels and interviewing our own staff who are going for promotion or to other parts of the department, and they all love working with customer service. They really do. But it can be a really tough job, particularly on front desk or on the phone.
Well, you're interacting with the public, and the public is the public, and even if you're helping them, they'll still give out to you. Martin, the one thing that fascinates me, and as a Cork man, it hurts me on every level to give Dublin credit, right? But what ye did was ye set the standard. So the quality mark, a quality assessment mark, is something that most people would run a mile from, because they'd be exposed very quickly if they weren't hitting the targets. But ye embraced it, ye leaned into it. That was a brave decision.
Yeah, it maybe it was, but and I know at the time when I suggested to my boss we should be doing that is, well, go talk to them, and if you want to run it, you can run it.
Yeah. It can be your fault if it goes wrong. Yeah.
Not everything's my fault. That's right. No, to be honest with you, I worked in the private sector previously, and I'm not afraid to look at different bits and pieces and say, well, why wouldn't that work for us? Why shouldn't we try something out? And it's great if you use the word pilot project or that phrase for anything. You can try anything and no one's going to have a problem.
How do you spell PILOT? Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah.
No, but to be honest with you, because of the timing, because of where we were, because of the expectations, the concept of providing merit goods for people and not having an income, we had to do better with less. There was no other option. It had to be done that way. So we had to get the best opportunities that were out there. This seemed to provide the best opportunity for us to learn how to do that and learn from best practice elsewhere.
Elaine, for you then, the CRM that you put in to support the local representatives, I'm going to choose my words very carefully. Local representatives can be a challenging bunch, and a lot of the time it's difficult to keep on top of what they're asking you when they're asking it. So, and again, I'm choosing my words carefully, did this improve the quality of the interaction between the team in Meath County Council and those who were put there by the electorate to do a job?
I think it's fair to say it has, because, and again, it's back down to that accountability where you can't hide. So if you want to not answer something, well, you can't, because it's there in black and white for everybody to see. So certainly communications have improved.
So they're not knocking down the chief executive's door, the deputy chief executive's door, saying they didn't answer my question, because you go into the dashboard and have a look.
Well, absolutely. Look, I'm not up here saying it's perfect and
Yeah.
that we're hitting all our timelines, and because that would be unrealistic. And some cases are more complex than others, particularly when you go into housing and the complexities that are involved in there. But the important thing is that communications with that notification function, where a member can contact straight into the housing department and say, what's the update here? And again, that's visible for everybody to see. And that's where
And I suppose what some might say is, oh, well, sure, look, they're hiding behind the computer. They're not coming to talk to us. Earlier on, we were talking about the value of putting a name on something. Is there a name that goes in the interactions?
there is a name, yeah.
Yeah.
And it by no means, eliminates all of the phone calls. If you have a constituent, maybe in real housing need, real difficulty there, of course the phone is still there. It doesn't take away from
Yeah. So what you're doing is just supplementing and augmenting rather than replacing. Okay, we'll throw it open to the floor if anyone has any questions down there. We're in the most difficult place, which is between here and lunch. Miriam, I'll throw it to you.
I kind of have a three-part question for Una. Sorry, Una. Well, I suppose I started off thinking about the journey, you know, and how the challenges maybe in simplifying the journey as you've done. But that led me to another question, thinking about other people in the room here, in that you had a burning platform. And say for other people maybe who wanted to look at doing something like that, you know, to what extent did the burning platform contribute to your simplification? And then the other question I just have is, you know, your target, say on the passport turnaround is 10 days. You showed us that it could be maybe 3 or 4. And is there a danger then someone in the organisation will say you're overstaffed because you're way over your target? So, yeah.
Yeah, I might answer the staffing question first. So we actually offer the foreign birth registration service as well, which is a citizenship service for descendants of, so if your grandfather, grandparent born in Ireland, you can apply for citizenship. And that has increased by over 500% since Brexit. So staff, we are always able to make a case to maintain our level of staffing, because when passports are slow, we move our staff over to FBR and we catch up on that side. There's always plenty of work to be done. And that said, I think we get a lot of buy-in because we're able to deliver such a fantastic service for the adult renewal passport. We do get a lot of support then from leadership in terms of resources for other areas that are a lot more complex. And then just in terms of the burning platform, I suppose, like, COVID, I think for all of us was a burning platform. I mean, it meant we all went out on hybrid working and blended working, or completely working from home, which has completely changed the landscape. That is something actually we're still struggling with, because of the level of data that we deal with, people's personal data. The majority, only 90% of our staff are working in the office all the time. And that's an issue for us now, because the rest of the department, everyone's working blended working. And so, you know, there are still, I suppose, COVID showed everybody, and our recovery from COVID showed everyone that you can do things very, very quickly when there's that like huge impetus there to do that.
You're not recommending we set fire to things, just for the record. It's just, you seized an opportunity, Una, is probably the best description, isn't it? Yeah.
Going to management, there's no harm in having a few fires going off. As long as you said, Jonathan, that you have the solution first.
Correct, lead with the solution. Yeah, and don't set the fires yourself, whatever you do. I have another question here. Yes, you can say your name.
Jen Fagan from the LGMA. I just have a question about your CRM and how, sorry, I should say how I work in communications. How you could feed the data into communications, and if you do, and then does that create a campaign, and do you see a lower call volume, or you know, to sort of minimize or maintain addressing the common questions that come in, and is that a regular flow you do with other departments? Just curious.
Yeah, I suppose it's back down to having that data, which we wouldn't have had before, and analysing it. And communications comes under my brief too. So we're always considering communications about that. And it's about analysing the level of calls that come in, and about targeting some media campaigns around that if we need to. Yeah.
Okay, the clock has beaten us, but I think we have learned an awful lot. Can we have a huge round of applause for Una Fannin, Martin Daly, Elaine Daly, and Margaret Lane. Gurmahagriv, lads, thank you so much. So much to consider there, and again, all of the conversations that we have had are about an evolution of what is the public service, and getting to the point at which technology becomes an asset and becomes a tool in how you communicate better. And it's going to get harder. I don't want to leave on a negative note, but what you're doing now is going to get more difficult, because there will be another COVID around the corner. There'll be another issue where budgets mightn't be as good as they were. People will always look for information, but ultimately, the role of local authority is a role of leadership. People will look to you. I often make the point when I'm speaking to people from local authorities, you are the source of and cause of all of life's problems. And your engagement with the public is vital in how you deliver your services. And the better engagement you have, the more likely you are people to say they provide the great service that you do. So ultimately, you're the leaders in the room, you're all the comms guys, you're the people working in services that can be delivered. So now is your job to use what we've learned today and go back to your colleagues and spread the word. And more importantly, when we're back here next year, hopefully NOAC will invite us back next year. Am I in already for next year? I am, yeah, I'm getting the nod from the back. That it could be one of your team or someone from your local authority on stage presenting some fantastic initiative that has worked really, really well. So just a quick reminder, everyone across now to Kilkenny, across the way for your lunch. And don't forget, if you do have time, come back over here and you can take the self-guided tour of Kilkenny Castle. Tell the ghosts I was asking for them. Thank you so much for your attention here today. Gura míle maith agaibh agus slán abhaile.